Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
All right, Phil and Ryan on Listen Up. Ryan, well, I have some good and bad news. Well, as you know, for the last hour, the audio is not working properly, so we need to have a discussion about that, right? For another time to come. Good and bad news, though, I have. So at this long break, the Huskies are coming off of a long break. That's good news, right? Bad news is, guess what? They're coming off of a long break. All right. That's why I didn't have you guess. Ryan, last check in, you know the drill by now. Predictions at the conclusion of the episode. What do you have? Because if you just throw the record out, and no disrespect to Marquette, if you just throw the record out and say, Phil, UConn is going against a 12-0 team New Year's Eve, I would automatically assume that you're talking about obviously one of the top 5, top 10 teams. And guess what? This is actually, well, they are in the top 25. But Ryan, this is a Big East conference opponent. And it looks like Ryan was right again. You told me seasons ago, it looks like some of these Big East teams, Phil, they're going to start rising up. Well, here we are, Ryan. It's a new era
Yeah.
and rising up. What do you have?
Yeah, glad to be back on the podcast after a little break. And even though we had to wait about an hour and a half dealing with audio issues, at least we're still recording. But Marquette looks to go into the new year with the perfect 13-0 record, of course, like you said, now at the 12-0 record. And UConn looks to continue their 5-game win streak and stay undefeated at home. One of those streaks will end on New Year's Eve. But with UConn coming off of 11 days rest, I am curious if we receive any news about Caroline Ducharme and her availability for this game. As for Marquette, their last game was 10 days ago. Haven't played many good teams, but they did play Creighton at home and they won by 6 points. Senior forward Liza Carlin has been outstanding so far for the Golden Eagles, along with the graduate student Jordan King and senior guard Rose Nakumu. All three of those players scoring points left and right for this team. Pretty much the leaders. A lot of presence on this team with the veteran presence and experience really continues as well with the transfer. Franny Hartinger, who leads the team in rebounds. Mackenzie Hare, also a promising second-year player for the Golden Eagles, averaging just under 16 points per game. Also expect to see freshman guard Skylar Forbes and the transfer from Duke, Lee Volker, come off the bench. Mackenzie Hare, Jordan King are the main three-point threats for Marquette, but the majority of their shots most of the time comes from the inside the arc. It looks like a good matchup on paper for UConn. Marquette's not really the tallest team, so trying to limit all of Marquette's offensive threats, obviously it's going to be pretty challenging. I think definitely not going to be easy trying to limit all the offensive stars for Marquette, but hopefully with UConn having the home court advantage, having the rowdy crowd behind them, I think honestly UConn has a good chance to win this game.
Oh yeah, obviously Lisa Carlin and Jordan King, my big two in this game, right? So yeah, I just wanted to get a discussion with you. So obviously, the time that we were off, UConn moved up. It looks like to the number 15 spot, so they are number 15 now in the AP poll. If Ryan, matter of fact, if anybody cares, right, including you, I know you don't care that much. You stick to your UConn toughness, right? You stick to your UConn toughness, and you always say, Phil, well, it doesn't matter that much. Vegas betting lines, AP polls, no matter what you're talking about. So, what does this do, Ryan? I think the biggest headline heading into this game is we know the Huskies. So it's like a first half of the season. I don't know if it's officially the first half of the season. I'm guessing it is. We have January and February left. So I think that we've pretty much seen it's not all about Paige Beckers by now, but they need her. All right, don't be mistaken by that. Okay. The freshman headlining, specifically KK Arnold, I think that we can say that heading into this Marquette matchup. I think where we've seen enough by now where, no, correct me if I'm wrong, where, yeah, Marquette is really good. Let's put that out there on the table now. With the second half of the season gearing up and the headlines we've seen, the games we've seen, what's your take? What is your take? Any excuse whatsoever to come into this game slow, especially slow starts. How about that? Slow starts. Now they are finishing strong. All right. So what do you think about just the majority of sports leagues, sports teams rather? Because just as much as I've seen it, I know darn well that you know what I'm talking about and that you've seen it along with everybody else. Breaks, whether that be a week, 10 days, specifically talking about the UConn Huskies, not Marquette. What happens? What happens? Do you blame it? If it is matter of fact a loss, why? Why do we? I think the biggest headline, Ryan, if you ask me, is the break.
Well, I think for me, it's a positive. I kind of look at it as a positive because of the amount of injuries and everything UConn's had to go through. So anytime UConn gets a week break, or in this case, an extended week break for the holidays, I think it's a good thing for this team. I think it's going to benefit them, and I think especially with them, coming back home to Gamble, back on campus, and knowing that they're going to have the fans behind them again to finish off the new year, of course, before going to Creighton in a away game. But I think just finishing the year off at home is really going to help them. And I think, of course, for this team, I hope I hope at least it was a pretty refreshing holiday breaks. But yeah, we know about how the break can affect some teams negatively. But I think as
Mm-hmm.
far as UConn goes, I think it's gonna really help them, or at least I hope it does help them get a little bit more healthy, help them rest up, and hopefully come into the or before the new year ends, get off on a good streak in the Big East, and hopefully go to Creighton and get another W.
All right. Richard Seawall goes, love you guys. Thanks for the shout out to TMU. Many U.S. folks don't seem to know that we don't have sports scholarships up here in Canada. Thus, the cream of the crop all head south for their scholarships. Speaking of that, I got to have a chat with Kia Nurse in Toronto last night, who was there to cheer on her Huskies. I'm a Canadian UConn alum, PhD 81, who has followed this team since the wonderful days with Jen Rosati in 95. Thanks for what you do.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate you for commenting. Yeah, I think it's interesting how it's different in some countries about the scholarships and just the way they play, or the different culture change. But yeah, it definitely was a pretty interesting game. I don't think really anybody knew what to expect. I know we were confused about if it counted, if it didn't count, and what the implications were for that game. But I think it was a fun time for everybody to head up to Toronto, of course, before the break, and kind of get, a definitely new experience for everybody, that's for sure.
All right, going down to how about Jeanette Adams, Ryan? And these are from about a week ago. F6 equals fantastic freshman fighting for a first place finish. Seriously, the freshmen are adjusting brilliantly, and I include Ice Brady, who missed last year.
Yeah, I think Ice has, gotten off to, maybe not the best start, but I think she's picked it up in recent weeks. Ashlyn Shade, of course, I think at first trying to just, find her role on the team, kind of got off to a slow start, had a couple good games, and then as soon as she got put into the starting lineup, she's looked like the top 15 player in the whole country, in the whole
Yes.
nation. So,
Yes.
she's been amazing for this team. Of course, KK has been pretty consistent the whole year in the starting lineup, coming off the bench, doing her thing. So, yeah, I mean, all three of those freshman players have really been spectacular for this team. And yeah, it's definitely a big reason why UConn is in the position they are now.
How about Paul goes, Amari did okay. She is one injury away from having an important role on this team. Well, I guess that's a good point, Ryan. I mean, we don't want anybody injured, but yeah, I mean, think about it. You need to. I mean, she can only sit for so long, right? If you're getting down to the bottom of your choices or your lineup, if you're Gino, you're like, well, if you don't have anybody else to go to, it's got to be her, right? She'll be needed against the bigger teams. If Edwards and Brady get in foul trouble or hurt, she is next up. Paige can't play center. I thought she did a good job at keeping her hands up on defense and not fouling, not slapping down like last year. Also, she has passed the ball and kept it moving a little better. She didn't try to make it play every time she got the ball. She was still a little lost on where to be at times. She did not, she did close out on her player on the 3-point line. That was an improvement from last year too. I'd give her a C+ last night. I don't want to get into deep conversation about it. I think we might be letting what's the saying, the cat out of the bag or whatever you say, Ryan. Uh, yeah, I just wonder now that this person brought this up, are we is some things unexpected coming? Some things against, especially against number one South Carolina. Let's put it out there now, where all of a sudden DeBerry not playing all year. Coaches have that tendency to do that. I wouldn't put it past Gino as long as he's been around. Do you all of a sudden just come up with some plan that you and I and everybody else didn't see coming?
Well, it really does sound like a good story, and I wish I could sit here and say that Amari is going to play a big role in a in an upcoming game or at some point in the season. But unfortunately, just in my opinion, I just can't see it happen. I don't think Gino wants to play Amari. And it really is unfortunate because we've talked about it for the past 3 years how Amari can have a huge impact on this team in a positive way and all of that stuff. But unfortunately, I just can't see it happening. Yeah, I just even though if Aaliyah or Ice would get into foul trouble. Or if somebody does get injured, I guess Amari would have to play. I guess she'd probably be the only center we have left, or the only player that can play the 5 position. But unless something crazy happens, uh, you know, forcing Amari to play, I just can't really see Amari having a huge impact in any of the games remaining.
All right. We hope everyone had a happy holidays, Ryan. And boy, would it be a hot game recap. Let me tell you, New Year's Eve, it doesn't get much better than that. Hopefully, we're celebrating a win. Jason D'Amico goes, happy holidays to all. Eat, drink, and be merry. Peace. But yeah, Ryan, we still have to bring him back for a game recap. Prediction time. I'm going, Ryan. This UConn team has been hot, and it's no secret. Marquette is a great team as well. I'm going UConn though in this one, Ryan. UConn follows up where it left off. I'll go 90 to 70. 90-70 UConn over Marquette.
UConn's gonna have to withstand and try to limit Marquette's opportunities on offense. UConn definitely needs to force turnovers, get fast break points. That's a huge reason why they're on this winning streak and why they beat some of the opponents the way they do. I think UConn prevails at home. I'm gonna go 84-76 UConn.
All right. Again, it's head coach Megan Duffy and crew coming in, Ryan, New Year's Eve. And we'll be back with you all on Sunday, right after the game. We hope, Ryan, that you enjoy it. We hope it's a big W. And please do not forget to subscribe, comment, and most importantly, please like the video. Phil and Rye on Listen Up.